The Honourable Member Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair, and thank the Minister for her contribution. I also want to make a contribution on the title of this Act, as it is called Vulnerable Children, the Bill, which will become an Act, the Vulnerable Children Bill. When it becomes an Act, I think that my only real reservation about the title is that I think it gives an impression that it deals with many more issues than it does. I'm going to come back to where we really started on this debate, and I know it drew an angry response from the Minister at the time, but it also was the view not just of the Labour Party but of most of the organisations that actually took part in the consultation over the White Paper and the Green Paper. I think it's the other way around, the Green Paper and then the White Paper for vulnerable children. And that was the very strongly held view that if we're really going to get to the bottom of this issue, that we do need to recognise children living in poverty, that is an issue that makes children vulnerable. And so to have a vulnerable children bill and an action plan for children that doesn't recognise that at all seemed to a lot of the people involved in the consultation on the action plan and all those processes, and it seems to the New Zealand Labour Party, to be denying a significant issue that exists. So I guess while we see that there is progress on dealing with a group of children who are vulnerable, there are, I don't even know how many, but thousands, hundreds of thousands probably of children who are vulnerable, whose needs are not addressed at all by this bill and won't be addressed when it becomes an Act. And what I want to say to the government is that today in question time I saw representatives of the government deny that poverty exists in this country on at least 3 occasions. And if that continues, then we will see a growing number of vulnerable children in our country, because unless the government fronts up to that issue, recognises that it exists and deals with the causes of it, then we won't get to the bottom of these problems. And we may start to feel okay about ourselves passing a bill like this tonight that deals with some of the issues, and it does deal with some of the issues. But let's not kid ourselves. I think the Minister just said, well, it might deal with 25% of it. I'd suggest that it's a great deal less than that, actually, because we're not recognising the breadth of the issue and the vulnerability of children who live in poverty in this country. And while I'm ashamed to say it exists in this country, because it ought not to, it absolutely ought not to. You think about the resources of this country, actually a wealthy country. We're a food-producing country, for goodness sake. You know, we're a food-producing nation. We have children in our country who go to school hungry. They go to school hungry and they find it difficult to learn because of that. That's a disgrace, Minister. It's a disgrace in this country. We ought not to have that problem. We do have the problem, and the government needs to front up to it.
The Honourable Member. Honourable Members, the time has come for me to report progress. I will report this bill with amendment and so divided presently.
No, excuse me, with progress. Sorry, not amendment.
Mr Speaker.
Well, the House has resumed. Mr Chairman.
Mr Speaker, the committee has considered the food bill and reports it without amendment. The committee has also considered the Vulnerable Children Bill and reports progress. Mr Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
The question is the report be adopted. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. The food bill is set down for third reading next sitting day. The Vulnerable Children's Bill and the Veteran Support Bill are set down for further consideration in committee next sitting day. And the House will stand adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening, everybody.